Hey, what's up, guys? Kyle got back from the video, and today I want to do my Bleach 1000 Year Blood War English dub, or episode 16 English dub. So here it goes. So, episode starts out with uh, we see the two captains were knocked the fuck out there. One of the Quincy's, who actually has his their power there, was actually saying, you're totally worthless without your Bankai there. And he said this is like the first time you get to see your Bankai going against you there. Mostly you see him, mostly you do see he actually says that there to him. And and then he's like, this is your apprentice there and stuff. And he's like, leave her alone there. And he's like, he didn't want her to leave her alone. So we go into the credits there. Mostly when the credits were over, we mostly left off from the previous episode, where technically where we left off, where the science captain there was actually talking to Mikazuki. I think that's what his name was, Mikazuki there, and he mostly was saying something about him and stuff. Mikazuki was saying to him, he's like, well, mostly he was saying he was gonna bring all the Bankais back there. There is a thing where he said he's gonna bring all the Bankais back. He's like, oh, he thought he was full of crap there, so he mostly hangs up the phone. Mostly he was on the other side there, and he was like, he's like, well, this is the things that we have to bring the Bankais back. So mostly they go to the research lab there, and he's brought these like pellets there. These pellets, he was actually saying to him, he said, mostly give this to everybody there, and mostly he was actually saying something about Iran cars there, and mostly the Quincy's can't really do nothing about the Iran cars there, because technically they actually do something with mostly why they don't actually go after Roncar powers, because Roncar powers are totally different from Soul Soul Reaper powers. So technically it would be a stupid. They really just don't really bother with the Roncars. The Quincy's don't really bother with the Roncars. So, technically, that's what he was actually saying there. And so, mostly if they try to steal their power, it makes it all screwed up and stuff like that. So, technically, they actually explained that there. Mostly, they actually gave everybody the things there to bring all their Bankais back. You can step on it. You can touch it with your hand. He said you can also have it in your soul there. I guess he said you don't have to eat it, but you can have it anywhere in your body, and then it will go through you and actually regain all the Bankais there. So all the captains there who lost their Bankai actually gave all the Bankai, mostly got all their Bankais back there. We do see our Hirishi there wakes up there, and mostly he actually gets his Bankai back. Mostly he was touching with the tab on his finger there, and mostly regenerates the Bankai back into his thing. And then mostly the Quincy was losing control of his Bankai there, and he's like, what the heck, and stuff like that. And he said, well, it's time to bring that. He's like, my Bankai wants to come back home there, and he's like, you, and stuff like that. And then mostly he was losing a part of the Bankai there, mostly taking like half of his arm off there. So he attacks him there. He's like, well, I can do this there. Mostly he attacks him. He's like, I don't give a damn. And then mostly he slashes him there with his sword, and mostly creates like an ice barrier and trapping him and stuff like that. He's like, well, technically this is like worthless there, but mostly because of his power there, he was pretty weak from using his Bankai there, so technically he got knocked the fuck out there. Mostly when he technically got knocked the fuck out there, he is knocked the fuck out for sure. I didn't even really want to see Hiway, who's honestly knocked the fuck out also. So, technically, the next part there, we do see fucking the Quincy girl there was walking there, and mostly she's like she's actually saying something about she's like what we need the who cares about these bonkais there and stuff like that. So she's like he's like mostly they're like saying we don't care if the Soul Reapers got their bonkais back and stuff like that, and she throws something at him. She's like at these Soul Reapers and mostly knocking them out there and stuff like that. Some random Soul Reapers technically got knocked the fuck out there. So when he was actually doing that there, we do see Hinchy there actually was kind of he's like he can actually was taking on some soldiers there, and mostly the soldiers were pointing the arrows. The Quincy soldier was pointing arrows. He does his Bonkai there, mostly taking him out there. Mostly he can actually his Bonkai is mostly can turn to mostly make your friendly make your ally as the enemy there. That's what his Bonkai does. So when he uses Bonkai, mostly half of the Quincy soldiers there got taken out by his Bonkai there, and he's like, well, he's like, this is like pretty pointless there. Mostly my Bonkai does take him out there and stuff like that. So he's like that was kind of dumb there and stuff like that. That's what he was actually saying there when he took out the soldiers. Mostly we do see the Quincy girl there was talking to him and sitting there, and then mostly the other Quincy soldiers disappear, or mostly the Quincy's there she was with there disappeared. She was yelling out for their names there, and she gets fucking pissed off there. She gets pissed off there and stuff like that. She's like, where the hell are you? And shit like that. And mostly she was getting pissed off there and stuff like that. And mostly she thought it was mostly a Quincy was right behind her, but she thought wrong there. It was one of the captains there. One of the captains there and stuff like that was right behind her. Mostly it was technically the dog captain. She's like, oh, doggy, you're here and stuff like that. And mostly trying to, he's like, what are you doing here with that bucket on your head? Or mostly he actually had armor there. And she's like, why do you have armor on you? And he's like, well, you technically don't know anything and stuff like that for it. And then mostly she's like, she was ready to fight him and stuff. And mostly he told him to, he's like told him to scram there. And he's like, what? He's like, right. And the guy who honestly took out the soldiers was technically taking on her and stuff like that. And then mostly does swinging his sword around, or his Zanpakuto around and stuff. And he's like, what? You're getting a little bit sick on my Zanpakuto and stuff. And he's like, and then she's like, you bastard, and stuff like that. And mostly she attacks attacks him there. Mostly he was like jumping out of the way. Mostly does his Zanpakuto to really screw with her head there and stuff. Mostly because his Zanpakuto can actually cause like weird effects on the eyes and stuff like that. So technically he used it against her, and she's like she was getting outnumbered there at first there. And then out of nowhere, when he was about to take her ass out there, this red beam comes out of nowhere. And then he's like, mostly we see the head Quincy guy there. He's like, well, you Soul Reapers, you don't have no chance there to go against me and stuff like that. He's like, this is the end of you and stuff like that. That's what he was saying. And then we see these like beams coming up out of the sky, mostly showing the Quincy logo there on the beams. and then mostly one of the girls, like the guy was actually fighting there, or he's sees away or whatever. Um, he was at. She's like saying, he's like, wait, what the hell is that? And he's like, well, that Bankai is in my way. He's like, mostly I didn't even do my full power there. They mostly have a new power. The Quincy's have a new power there, and technically, mostly here the Quincy or the Quincy or the head Quincy guy was actually saying, he's like, well, this is it for you, Soul Reapers, and that's where we actually had the credits there. In the end there, we actually had the credits there, and then we see Ichigo walking the path there. He's still walking the path there, trying to see the Soul Reaper King. And mostly, when he was mostly taking a couple steps there, he's actually seeing some flashbacks, some like random flashback, or not random images there. And he's like, what the heck are these? And stuff like that. That's what Ichigo was actually saying. And that's where the episode ends. So, yep. Comment, rate, more responses to its bros. We like Love Bros. Please subscribe. Hit the bell notification on see more uploads in my live streams. Comment, responses to its bros. Like, her out. Add her peace.